Hi everyone, my name is Scarlett. Welcome to Scar Investigates. If you watched my last video, you will know that I promised to talk about a less disturbing case. Also, thank you so much for watching my last video and bearing with me with such an upsetting case. Anyway, today we're gonna look at a bizarre tragedy, something which I thought would only happen in movies or TV dramas. This story is a two-parter because of the complexity of the case. The next video will be uploaded in a few days, so make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Before I start the story today, I just want to make a disclaimer that all the information I talk about later are just what I have compiled from the internet, and I feel the deepest sympathy to every party involved. This story started from a simple mistake 28 years ago. In the summer of 1992, two women who were about to go into labor were admitted to the Huaihe Hospital in the city of Kaifeng. 23-year-old Xu Ming is from Jiangxi province and works in the healthcare system. She returned to her hometown of Kaifeng for delivery. Du Xingzhi, 29, is from Henan. She opened a restaurant with her husband and also returned to her hometown of Kaifeng to give birth to a second child. During her first labor, her eldest daughter suffered from oxygen deprivation due to umbilical cord asphyxiation. And therefore, this time around, she chose to have a C-section at the best hospital in Kaifeng. The two families had their best wishes for the two little lives that were about to come to this world. To simply matters, I will call these two mothers by their last names, Xu and Du, and their husbands are Yao and Guo respectively. At 5 p.m. on June 15, 1992, Xu's son was born first, weighing about 3.5 kilograms. The doctor showed Xu her son once, and then put the baby away for special care. She remembered her baby looked healthy and there was a bracelet on his wrist, indicating the number of his bed. Her husband Yao was enlisted in the army at the time, and so he rushed to the hospital the next day. He saw the baby being held by the nurse in the corridor, and his first impression of his son was 瓜子脸红红的. A few hours later, at 9 a.m. on June 16th, Du's son was also born. It was a successful C-section, but Du was too exhausted at the time to say exactly what the child looked like before it got taken away for special care. On the fourth day after the birth of Xu's child, a rash developed on the baby's face. Xu was concerned with the hospital's hygiene, so she checked out of the hospital carrying her newborn baby. The child she took away was wrapped in a small pink sheet and was later named Yao Ce by her parents. I'm gonna call him Little Yao in this video. A few days later, Du was also discharged from the hospital. She and her husband named their son Guo Ming, and I'm gonna call him Little Guo. Little Yao left Kaifeng and returned with his parents to a city by the Yangtze River called Jiujiang, where he had his upbringing. Both his parents work in the local healthcare system, and they are a well-off family. For this precious male child, the whole family, including grandpa, grandma, aunt, etc., they all coddled him. Xu described Little Yao's coddled upbringing in an idiom, 想要星星，不敢给月亮. When Little Yao was 2.5 years old, he was diagnosed with hepatitis B during a physical examination at his kindergarten. His parents were very confused because there's no history of hepatitis B in the family. The only possibility they could think of was a needle infection caused by a vaccine. Xu blamed herself for this for several days. She has always taken great care to sterilize the baby bottles and small bowls used by Little Yao every day. Out of guilt, she asked for a year's leave from her company to take care of her son wholeheartedly. Little Yao's aunt was the first to become suspicious and said, I wondered if this was a mistakenly taken child because Little Yao did not look alike with his family at all. But the grandma shook off any such suspicions and said, Little Yao is so cute, I won't change him back even if I got him wrong. Thousands of miles away in another city called Shumadian, Little Guo is also growing up. His father thinks Little Guo is very similar to himself. Little Guo has a round face just like him, and even his personality is exactly the same as his father. The relatives never noticed any problems, and they often commented on how alike he looked to the family. Compared with the Yao family, who has been living quite comfortably, Guo family's income sources were quite diffuse, sometimes selling fruit and sometimes opening restaurants. The Guo family wasn't rich but wasn't poor either. So for the next 28 years, these two young men had their respective, relatively normal upbringings without the knowledge of each other. Little Yao's hepatitis B diagnosis didn't give him much trouble through the years. He had studied medicine, worked in e-commerce, got married, and had children, and his life was shaping up to match his ideals. His wedding photos at home, the upside-down fool, and the pictures of the children on the phone screen all carry his optimism for the future. In 2017, Little Guo became an auxiliary police officer, and now he was blessed with both a son and a daughter. He was working hard to prepare for his official police exam, and if all goes well, he will fulfill his ambition to become a well-established police officer and a devoted servant of his community. On the evening of February 16, 2020, Little Yao suddenly felt such agony in his upper abdomen so that it brought him to tears. The pain then radiated to his shoulders and even throughout his entire back. After a hospital scan, it was found that Little Yao had a shadow on his liver. It was a tumor of about 14 centimeters in diameter, covering almost the entire right side of the liver. After further examination, he was diagnosed with terminal liver cancer. She remembered the moment she heard those words. It was like a stick hitting her and knocking her out. After some brief mourning, the 51-year-old mother immediately started raising money to treat her son, to hopefully get a few extra precious years for his life, or at the very least to alleviate some pain.
我无数你们都不知道，我每天晚上对着天空，我会祈祷，我会求上天，我说哪怕让杨策这个带瘤生存，就是可以。 是个慢性病，哪怕让我每个月把我的工资全部拿出来给他吃药、打针，延续他的生命，我都愿意。我真的我都愿意，只要能活下去。
The medicine that Little Yao needs to take is almost 17,000 yuan per box, which is more than 2,500 American dollars, and one box is only enough for 10 days. Little Yao's parents sold 2 cars in the family for this reason. And their relatives' houses are also listed for sale to raise funds. Worried that the local hospital in Zhejiang is not good enough, Little Yao's parents borrowed a van and took the son to the provincial capital in Nanchang for medical treatments. Hotel vacancies were in short supply during the pandemic, and the couple needed to save as much money as possible for their son, so they parked the van on the side of the road every night and slept directly in the vehicle. In March 2020, Little Yao's family went to Shanghai for medical treatment. The doctor said that a liver transplant could be considered. Little Yao's mom immediately knelt down in front of the doctor and said, "As long as I can save my son, I'm willing to donate my liver." She was willing to exchange her own life for her son's.
还可以做肝移植手术的时候，我妈就非常激动，痛哭流涕，当时就跪下来了。
我说我是他妈妈。 我说肯定是没有什么排斥的。我说用我的肝。
一线希望我去搏它干嘛呢？我为什么不让我家人好好的活在这个世界上？
The parents went for a blood test to see if they are suitable for the liver donation, but when they got the results, they were stunned. Both of the parents have blood type A, but Little Yao's blood type was found to be AB. For a biological parent-child relationship, this is not possible. If both parents' blood types are type A, then their children can only be type A or type O. After raising Little Yao for 28 years and running their finances to the ground to treat Little Yao, they found out that Little Yao is not their biological child. Xu said that after knowing the truth, she even thought of suicide. Because on one hand, her dear Little Yao is so sick that she almost can't do anything. But on the other hand, she doesn't even know whether her own biological child is alive or dead. After Yao and Xu took some time to calm down, They decided the first thing to do is to look for little Yao's biological parents, because time is ticking for little Yao, and if only they can find little Yao's parents for a liver transplant, then his life can be saved. Yao contacted the hospital where little Yao was born, and the hospital was willing to share whatever information to help. This led to the police in Kaifeng conducting a search on little Yao's DNA samples. Finally, the Guo family in Zhumadian were finally tracked down and determined to be little Yao's biological family. In the next episode, the two families meet each other for the first time, and both estranged sons are finally able to reunite with their respective biological parents. However, a happy ending to this story will not come easily. Will the Guo family be willing to donate an organ to their biological son, but whom they have never met until today? How will the Yao family reconcile with all the financial and emotional exertion for someone with whom they have no blood relation? Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe if you want more of these interesting cases. And I'll see you in the next episode.